Hello guys, this is Cameron from Yu-Gi-Oh! Warriors, and today I will be doing a deck profile, like I said, of the Dark Magician deck that I have. Dark Arts. I call it Dark Arts. Here it is. Um, you might kind of wonder why some of these cards are in here, and don't worry, I'll be going over each of these cards in this video. I'm not gonna lie, I did kind of get the whole kind of setup-ish, or the main basis from, I forgot where. Some video on YouTube, I think. I was like looking for a good idea to start with. The Dark Magician deck I have, that 100% mine. Um, it's okay. It wins half the time. Um, I kind of also rely on spell counters as well for this deck. You know, I have Magical Citadel of Endymion, whatever, however you pronounce that, and Endymion, the Master Magician, as well as a various number of XCs, fusions, and synchros. So this is mine. If you guys want to also see this as well, please just tell me in the comment section below, and I will if you guys want me to. But we're gonna go on and start with this one. I made a couple modifications to it, such as the extra deck, and I'll just kind of explain later on. So in this deck, you'd want to have 3 Dark Magicians. Most of this deck is going to be running off a Dark Magician anyway, since it's a Dark Magician deck. So you'd want to have Dark Magicians, obviously, for your Amulet Dragons, your Dark Paladins, and your Draco Sack, which I'll be telling more about later. So yes, obviously you'd want Dark Magicians in here. It doesn't matter what art type you have, in case you're wondering that. I just really like this art type. I don't know why people like the original one. Magician. I spelled that wrong. Pretty wrong. Okay. Some people like this one. Some people like that one or this one. My favorite is this one. I don't know why. It's just like the green skin and the blonde hair. I don't know. It's just the whole effect of the glow. Anyways, that's beside the whole point. Then this deck, it mainly revolved around Dark Magician, but I went ahead and also added some Dark Magician girls. I'll explain a little bit more on her later, but also mainly because of Dark Magician and kind of for her power boost. She's not gonna be playing a big role in the deck, but most of the time I'll be doing a Dark Magician. I actually just added her in a couple minutes ago. I want to see how this goes, so I'm gonna do a couple duels on her. Maybe not on camera, because this is going to be strictly deck profile, but I will be doing a couple duels with this deck to see how the Dark Magician girls work. Then, you're also going to want 3 Elemental Hero Prismas. This is also going to be a big part of the deck. You know, your Dark Magicians and your Prismas. Prismas, it can go quite a long way. One, you can use it to fusion summon Amulet Dragon, Dark Magician Girl, the Dragon Knight, Dark Paladin, or any of these elemental heroes. Also can be used to XYZ summon most of these except for Draco Sack. And it can be called Dark Magician, which means you can also use a Dark Magic attack. So most people, when they see Prisma, and then they see me reveal, a Dark Paladin, and then they see me get rid of Dark Magician, most people would say, okay, they're planning to fusion summon, and sometimes they'd activate Fiendish Chain, sometimes they'll just ignore it totally. And then you can go ahead and use Dark Magic Attack and get rid of all our face down cards, which means you can basically do the next setup for a, Amulet Dragon or a Dark Paladin. If they're running a Dragon deck, you would be pretty lucky in a way, because then Dark Paladin will be overpowered. Or if you're running a Dark or Dragon type deck as well, but I don't see why you'd have Dark Paladin in it. Anyways, next we'll have 2 Fire Hands. I actually took out a Fire Hand and an Ice Hand to put in. I actually had one of these just because I wanted 20 monsters, and then I took out a Fire Hand and an Ice Hand for the 2 other Dark Magician girls. Fire Hand and Ice Hand, these basically go hand in hand. no pun intended. um, you can use, Fire Hand for an XC summon, and then you can also take out one of your opponent's cards, as well as Ice Hand can also do the same thing, except, one is monster, one is spells and traps. So um, multi, they're multi-purpose, if that is like the right use for that word. So yeah, I like to use these. Also, maybe possible. I rarely do any tributes with this deck for Dark Magician, unless I already have one on the field, and let's say one of these don't have any more Xyz materials, then they'll be basically useless, and I'll just tribute. No offense. So let's just move on. I have three Kage Tokages. Um, if I summon Ice Hand, and then I summon out a Kage to, and then I special summon a Kage Tokage, or I, Prisma Kage Tokage. Sometimes what I like to do is Prisma, then Kage Tokage, and then I like to, get rid of the Dark Magician. Then I'll overlay these two to do Daigusto Emerald. And most people don't really use the second effect. I happen to use the second effect. I'll use the effect target one non-effect monster in your graveyard, special summon that target. Then you can bring back a Dark Magician, so you have two pretty good cards on the field already. Excuse me. Then, if you already have one on the field anyways, then you can go ahead and Draco Sack. So, pretty amazing when you have, two Draco Sacks, or two Dark Magicians with Draco Sack on it. It's pretty amazing. That's one of the few combos I like to do this in this deck. Well, not few, but I mean, one of the combos I like to do in this deck. It's pretty good. It kind of freaks out the people half the time as well, because they're not expecting you to use the second effect. I didn't even know about a second effect until I usually use the first one, and then one day I'm like, you know how you can do this on Dueling Network, and then I read the second effect. I'm like, I didn't know I can do that. So I decided to pop in some of these Daigusto Emeralds. Then I have two Photon Thrashers. These mainly just for the special summon, really. Like if you happen to pull one on your first turn, and you can also like see summon, you can pop a Photon Thrasher, then use Prisma, Kage Tokage, and then Xyz these two, and then use him for, one of these down here. So I like to do that as well. So that's also part of the strategy. These aren't really too needed, but you can go ahead and have them in the deck anyways. Next up, we have ourselves a skilled Dark Magician. Not just any one, but a skilled one. I just realized what I don't get is, why do they call him the skilled one and call him just the Dark Magician? I really don't get that. So this one, you really don't need this one in the deck. I use this card mainly for, you're going to be using a lot of spells anyways, and if you just happen to pop one of these, then you could probably use a Pot of Duality. Oh wait, no, you don't want to use that, because then you can't special summon. So then you're probably going to want to use, maybe, I don't know, Emergency Call, Soul Charge, then like Pot of Dichotomy, and then you can just special summon out a Dark Magician from out of nowhere. So these really aren't needed. Sometimes I use it for the overlay unit, sometimes I use it for Allure of Darkness, and sometimes I just use it just because I have no other cards to use. That's what its main purpose kind of is for me anyways. Then I kind of I kind of already went over this, but Allure of Darkness. Then 3 Dark Magic attacks, like I've said. You can control your opponent with that, or you can also just, if you have a Dark Magician on the field anyways, and not a clone, like Prisma is, then you can just go ahead and pop a Dark Magic attack. 3 emergency calls, obviously, because just in case, I have Timaeus, you have the whole setup, and you have Kage Tokage, Photon Thrasher and stuff, you have the whole setup, but you don't have, Prisma. Go ahead and pop an emergency call, and he will be there right away. Then you have 2 Miracle Fusions. There were actually a couple more Elemental Hero Fusion monsters. I think there was Escuardo, and one other one I had in the deck. I can't remember the name. Oh, and Nova Master. But I took those two out and put in the Dark Magician Girl of the Dragon Knight. One, because she's sexy, and two, because I really didn't use them anyways. Absolute Zero is a big help. So is the Shining, and the Shining can be pretty OP. So you gotta have these two in the deck. Then you have two Pot of Dichotomies. These are basically filler cards. Not filler cards as in just cards to fill up the deck, but filler cards in case you're running out of your Dark Magician, your Prisma, your Kage Tokages, or your Dark Magician Girls, or any of these monsters. In case you're running out of those, you can pop one of these, and you can also draw two cards. The only downside is that you can't use your battle phase, but I don't think that really matters. If you can't do anything anyways, you need a monster, why not just pop one of these? Then, three Pot of Dualities. I don't always suggest using Pot of Dualities. You can use any other spell card that you would deem helpful, I guess, in a way. Mainly because you can't special summon the turn you activate this card, and special summoning is a big part of this deck, or at least basically half the deck. So I don't suggest putting in three Pot of Dualities. I do. It's worked out okay for me, but Pot of Duality is an if. It's like in the middle for me. Then you probably can put in polymerizations and take out these and put in Buster Bladers. That I probably might do that as well. Because then you can't summon these. I usually just use these just to pop for Prisma. But you can also take these out and take these out and put in a couple of polymerizations and Buster Bladers. You're more than welcome to do that. Whatever you want to your deck. Then one reinforcement of the army. This is basically the same thing as emergency call. If you wanna get one of these, or if you already have one of these, and you have this, you have basically the whole setup. But you also want Photon Thresher. Go ahead and go the extra mile. Use reinforcement of the army and get that Photon Thresher. Then you can have two Soul Charges. This is probably like, why am I not surprised? This is basically the, I want to say, unbanned version of Monster Reborn. It's basically pretty broken, if I do say so myself. I do use this card I did use this a couple of times, but this card is basically broken. If this card had ignoring summoning conditions on it, that would be like the best card ever, because then you can pop and summon so many other cards. This is so broken on so many levels. But you know what? You go ahead and use that to your advantage until this card gets banned. So that's probably what I'm gonna do. So you can have two Soul Charges in here. The only downside is the 1,000 life points, and you can't conduct your battle phase. But I don't think that matters. I don't think this is a big deal, just because you can then have any monster you want. So that is a pretty big and really good card until it gets banned. So use it while you can. Then you're gonna want to have three Optimises. Obviously, this is one of the big parts of the deck as well, because then without this, you wouldn't be able to summon any of these cards down here. So this you would need this for about every strategy you do with these cards. So I suggest having at least three or more. Just kidding. You can only have like three. But yeah, that's basically it for the spells. Timaeus, it will get a lot better soon. I think they have Legendary Knight as well. Let me check real quick. I think they have it out in the booster box. What is it? Dragons of Legend. Okay, they do Legendary Knight Timaeus. I like this effect. Cannot be normal summoned set, must be special summoned with Legend of Heart. Ooh, sounds fancy. Can special summon in ways. When this card special summon, target one face up spell or trap card you're on the field, banish that target. When this card's target for an attack, you can target one spell card in the graveyard, set that target. That's a pretty good effect. That's a pretty good effect. And Legend of Heart, I know I'm kind of going off track, so if you want to skip ahead a little bit, I'll probably put the script in the description, the time you probably want to skip ahead at. But Legend of Heart. Banish one warrior type monster. I really like the whole Legendary Knight stuff. especially Timaeus. I don't know why Timaeus is like my favorite. I don't know why, but I really like the whole Legendary Knight stuff. I'm not sure if they're gonna have the what is it that I forgot that monster that they have when you use the effects of Timaeus or Critias and Hermos, I think it is. And then they have this big, or not big knight, but they have this knight, and it's basically OP. He had like infinite attack or something like that against like the legendary Leviathan, if you know what I'm talking about in the Yu-Gi-Oh series. If you're not that far in the Yu-Gi-Oh TV show series, I'm sorry for spoiling that. Then you're gonna want to have back to the deck. Sorry, I probably should have said that. But back to the deck, you're gonna want to have 3 Fiendish Chains, 1 Solemn Warning, and 1 Torrential Tribute. You can have more traps if you would like. I prefer having at least 5, maybe not more than 8 or 9 or 10, because then you won't be able to draw the cards you need. You can also trade out these cards for any other card that you want, maybe Mirror Force. You can maybe take out one of these, pop a Mirror Force in or something like that. You don't have to have exactly this, mainly because my opponent wouldn't. Most of the time with this deck, I don't know why opponents don't really use anything against me, like Mirror Force. Probably because I popped that Dark Magic attack, or because I don't attack too much. I mean, I attack a lot, but I mean, I don't seem to. For with this deck, me using this deck, I don't get too many people using Mirror Force on me, so I think I'm pretty good on that. So you can go ahead and switch out these traps whatever you want. I like to have these mainly because the effect negation and the summoning negation and also another summoning negation in a way. So that's just me. You can switch this up any way you want. Then just quickly through the extra deck, you're gonna want to have 2 Amulet Dragons. You can put more if you would like. You probably also might want to take out maybe number 101 and maybe put another one, or put in another one of these for any other card you want to switch out. Then I have 2 Dark Magician Girls, the Dragon Knight, 2 Dark Paladins. I have 2 different arts. I really like this art, but then I had to go with this one. I don't know why I had to, but I just felt like I had to. Don't ask. Then I have an Elemental Hero Absolute Zero, Elemental Hero The Shining, 3 Digusto Emeralds. These cards are also a big part of the deck as well, because they can also be used as a pot of Dichotomy without the extra draw, and without the negation of your battle phase. So these are a big part of the deck. Then you want to have an Evil Storm Excision Knight, if I pronounce that right. This is not too needed. This is kind of just also a deck filler as well. So you don't have to have this card in, but I like to have this card in. I've used it a couple of times actually, and it has become quite helpful, because then I think you can also summon out or a Dark Magician then. So that's pretty good, okay, I guess. You want to have a Lava Val Chain. This can also be used to maybe possibly put in on top of your deck a Elemental Prisma, or if you want to use that as a Foolish Burial, possibly to send one of these to the grave, and then you can use Miracle Fusion, possibly. I don't know what you do with that, but do what you want with that. Then you Mecha Phantom Beast Dragosack. You can have more of this if you would like. I would like to have more. I might take out this card, number 101, or take out Evil Swarm for another one of these. This card is pretty OP, and it can be destroyed as long as you have a Mecha Phantom Beast token, and it summons 2, and you only take 1 to activate its effect. So I would suggest having 1 or 2 of these in the deck. Then last but not least, number 101, Silent Honor Arc. You can also take that out as well. I would say number 101, Excision Knight, and an Elemental Hero card would be good to switch out if you wanted to or needed to. If you wanted to put in an extra one of these, or extra one of these, whatever you want. So that just about wraps it up for today's deck profile. Hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile. This deck gets me quite a lot of wins. My rating has gone up on Dueling Network because of it. I use this deck quite a bit, and it's like my main deck now. So yeah, that's basically it for today. If you guys would like to see me do any other deck profiles, please leave that in the description below. And please check out our eBay for more cards that you possibly want to buy. If any of them interest you, we will be putting up more cards in the near future. And we hope to be doing some booster box openings soon as well as some monthly giveaways. We will be giving more information on those later on, probably in a whole separate video by itself, so that you guys don't get confused. So other than that, thank you guys for watching. Let's see if we can get 5 likes for the Dark Magician deck, and for that Soul Charge, that broken son of a beep. So let's see if we can hit 5 likes for that. And thank you guys for watching. This is Camron from Yu-Gi-Oh! Warriors, signing out.